Again Dimmadel found herself viewing the twisted plains of hell, the demon standing expectantly in front of her. The demon's grin was a twisted, malevolent thing. In this realm, I will teach you an ability that merges your royal heritage with arcane prowess. It will grant you the power to command elements and manipulate the very essence of magic, blending the regal with the mystical. With a wave of his scepter, the demon summoned a shimmering, translucent orb that hovered above the ground. Inside the orb, wisps of magical energy swirled and intertwined, forming intricate patterns. To wield this power, the demon explained, you must learn to harness both your innate grace and the magical forces that permeate this realm. The ability you will acquire is one of enchantment and control, a fusion of your royal dignity and arcane skill. Dimmadel steadied herself, despite the oppressive heat and the strange beauty of the landscape. The demon gestured to the swirling orb. Focus on the orb. Channel your inner strength and envision yourself as both a queen and a sorceress. Your royal bearing will guide the magic, and the magic will enhance your regal presence. Dimmadel took a deep breath and extended her hands towards the orb. At first, her attempts were hesitant, the magical energy flickering with uncertainty. The swirling flames and runes seemed to react to her presence, pulsing with an intense, almost impatient energy. Visualize your power, the demon urged. Feel the magic responding to your will, like a courtier awaiting your command. Dimmadel closed her eyes and concentrated. She imagined herself standing on a grand balcony overlooking a magnificent kingdom, her presence commanding respect and awe. She visualized the magic as an extension of her royal grace, flowing effortlessly from her fingertips like a silken ribbon of light. Slowly, the orb began to respond to her focus. The energy coalesced, forming elegant patterns of light and shadow that danced in the air. The flames on the ground seemed to mirror her movements, shifting in harmonious patterns. Dimmadel's confidence grew as she felt the magic solidify into a more tangible form. She extended her hand, and a shimmering, ethereal scepter materialized before her. It was a perfect blend of regal elegance and arcane power, adorned with intricate runes that glowed softly with a calming light. Excellent, the demon said, his voice a mixture of approval and satisfaction. You have created the enchanted scepter, a manifestation of your royal and magical prowess. It will grant you the ability to control elemental forces and cast enchantments, blending your grace with sorcery. Dimmadel held the scepter with a sense of awe and accomplishment. It felt both empowering and familiar, an extension of her own essence. She could feel the flow of magic through it, resonating with her royal presence and amplifying her will. As you master this power, the demon continued, remember that it is a reflection of your inner strength and authority. Use it wisely. Until you return my horn, the scepter will remain in this realm. As I helped you create, it is tied to me. The landscape around them began to waver and shift, the fiery ground and towering spires dissolving into darkness as Dimmadel felt herself being pulled back to her own reality. She woke up with a start, bolting up in her bed. As she looked around, she noticed the night had not ended, and although she definitely didn't feel well rested, she got up with no intention of going back to sleep. Leaving the comfort of her bed, the newly dubbed Lady Maribel Azure left her room after throwing a cloak on. The interior of Moundsmine Keep was not ugly, but she still found herself missing the intricate patterns of magic stones used to create her home kingdom. She traced her hands down the railing of the hall as she silently stepped to the kitchens to get a snack for the night. Perhaps if she ate something she might be able to get back down for a minute, she thought to herself. As she turned a corner, she heard a couple of voices whispering in hushed voices, and immediately stopped to listen, nestling in behind a set of armor. How are we to proceed? You said we had to dispose of the lord that resided here, and we did. Now there's this new girl, the Lady Maribel, who quite frankly I've never heard of. One voice spoke, an oily sort of voice you might hear selling potions in the markets. She's an Azure. Surely you've heard of the Azures? They're directly related to the Asters, who you surely know are the third highest held family bloodline to the throne. Another voice said, feminine and drawn out slow to sound sultry. But she's little more than a child. What if she interferes with the plan? The oily voice said, exactly, if you think critically here it's actually better. Less suspicion if it's somebody appointed by a higher noble anyways. As long as we keep our operation secret from the young Lady Maribel and her compatriots, we should be fine. The sultry voice said, that's all right to say, but you must forget the worst punishment here is hardly death. The oily man exclaimed in a harsh whisper, if you are so afraid of a little girl, perhaps you should go and ask Gladys to let you leave. There was a long silence before the man answered again. No, I don't want that. That's just asking for a quicker death. Well, I suppose all I'm saying is if this bites either of us in the rear, I called it. The oily man said with an air of finality, walking away and coming within arm's length of Dimmadel. She could tell he was a ranger, perhaps 6 years her senior, and was indeed quite oil-slicken. His coarse blonde hair had been slicked back and to a point with some kind of glistening oil. The bow on his back looked to be severe enough that she believed he could definitely draw it quickly if he were provoked. Lucky thing she had hidden, she thought as she heard the woman's footsteps leaving the opposite way. As she stood there hearing the pair depart, their footsteps creating a strange unison, she began to feel angry. How could this be? Should she tell Alaray about this? What if this was normal for Franmere? She had most certainly heard of the political game in Franmere being quite intense, but she feared for what they were planning. What's more, she thought, is that they made it sound like there were more of them. She crept back to her room, no longer in the mood for food. In the place the young girl had been standing were a set of footprints scorched into the stone floor.